The Frog Prince, a German fairy tale collected by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, there was a spoiled little princess who had too many toys to play with, too many beautiful dresses to wear, and too many delicious things to eat. Therefore, nothing pleased her, and she was always restless and annoyed and dissatisfied. One afternoon, she was feeling especially sorry for herself. She was tired of her 217 pretty dolls. Making sand castles bored her, of course, since she had 5 real ones already, and her newest diamond crown gave her a headache. She sat irritably, rolling a golden ball by her lily pond. Now, since playing ball near the water is not a very sensible idea, it was not long before the ball bounced out of her hands and deep down into the pond. The ball was made of purest gold and was naturally very heavy, so it sank right to the bottom immediately. This sent the cranky little princess into a royal tantrum. "Oh," she screamed, "I'd do anything to get my beautiful golden ball back." "Would you really?" croaked a voice by her side. "Ugh, how disgusting!" shrieked the princess when she saw a giant frog sitting near her. "I may not be so beautiful," replied the frog, "but I do dive beautifully. If I find your ball, would you really do anything I ask?" "Why, yes," cried the princess. "Would you play with me?" asked the frog, "and let me eat from your plate and drink from your cup and sleep on your pillow?" "Yes, certainly," promised the princess. So with a great splash, the frog dove into the pond and in a flash reappeared on the surface holding the golden ball. The princess was delighted to have her golden ball again and immediately started to run back to the castle. "Wait a minute," croaked the frog. "What about all your promises?" "What promises?" the princess called back over her shoulder as she kept on running. "I have my golden ball back," she said to herself. "I really don't have to worry about those silly promises to that disgusting frog now." The following day, when she and her father, the king, were eating their royal luncheon, they heard strange footsteps outside the dining hall. Splashy, wet footsteps on the marble stairs. Next there came a splashy, wet tapping at the door. The princess opened it and found the big frog squatting outside. She slammed the door quickly, but the king noticed that she seemed upset and ordered her to tell him what had happened. Now, even a princess may not disobey a king, especially her own father, so she had to tell him the whole story. "Did you actually make all those promises to that kind frog?" asked the king sternly. "Yes, sire," answered the princess in a very meek voice. "Have I not tried to teach you that a true princess must always keep her promises?" the king went on. "Yes, father," whispered the willful little princess. "Then you know what you must do, don't you?" said the king, gently but firmly. "Yes, sire," she answered. Knowing that she must obey her father, she opened the door, and immediately the frog padded into the dining hall. The ugly frog took one giant leap and, with a wet plop, landed on a satin chair right next to the princess. "Now," croaked the frog happily, "may I eat from your plate and drink from your cup, as you had promised?" The princess looked at her father with a pitiful expression, but the king only stared back sternly. "Please do," she forced herself to say politely, then turned her head away and shivered. The princess could not eat a morsel herself, but the frog ate and drank heartily. Furious at her predicament, the princess gnashed her teeth and schemed at how she would get even with the annoying frog later. When he was finished, the slimy old frog yawned and stretched his flippers. "Will you let me sleep on your satin pillow now, as you had promised?" he croaked sleepily. Again the princess looked helplessly towards her father, but once again the king only frowned at her. "Of course," she said obediently, then carried the frog to her bedchamber and let him sleep on her satin pillow. For 3 days and 3 nights the frog continued to eat from her plate, drink from her cup, and sleep on her pillow. The princess herself hardly ate or drank or slept at all. On the 3rd night, completely exhausted, the princess finally fell asleep, and when she awoke, the frog was gone. Instead, near her pillow stood a prince, dressed in gold velvet and brocade. She listened in wonderment as he explained that a spiteful fairy had turned him into a frog and had forced him to live in the lily pond until a beautiful princess would allow him to eat from her plate, drink from her cup, and sleep on her pillow for 3 days and 3 nights. "You have broken this evil spell," he said gratefully. "It is my fondest hope to marry you and love you as long as we live." Already in love with the handsome young prince, the princess did not hesitate and quickly promised to be his bride. The king was delighted with the match, and soon a splendid coach drawn by 8 white horses with golden harnesses appeared to carry them away. And so the prince and his bride returned to his own wonderful kingdom, where they began to live a long and happy life together. The end.